What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from The Quartering, and it's been an interesting week in terms of the future of Marvel, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and people, including myself, trying to make sense of what was the single worst second week drop in Marvel history, happening to Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania. Now, a lot of people might be looking at that saying, Marvel's dead for sure. Probably not. You know, until a tent pole really tanks, I definitely can't say that it's dead. However, this is a very, very bad sign. It is a sign that Marvel can't just throw whatever against the wall and see what sticks anymore. And they enjoyed that for a lot of years. It felt like there was absolutely nothing they could do that wouldn't make $1 billion. And by the way, I'll be live streaming about this later tonight, so I hope you'll stop by around 5 Central, 5:30 Central. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, made $32 million its second weekend. At domestic box office, that is a nearly 70%, 69% giggity, drop from its debut. This marks the biggest week-to-week drop in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Now, if you look at some of these things, though, right, No Way Home dropped 68%, Multiverse of Madness dropped 67%. It's not that big a deal. Except it can be when you look at the overall trend for Marvel. See, Ant-Man is facing the worst second week box office drop in MCU history, but it's Ant-Man. And it's the third Ant-Man movie. And I know everyone loves Paul Rudd, but were you that excited to see Ant-Man, or was it more like, I'll see it when it comes out to streaming? I think that's happening to more and more people. As Marvel movies have become so obviously formulaic, and it's just, there's nothing to be excited for anymore. You know, today in getting improbably teensy news, got it. Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania is on track for the single biggest second week box office drop in MCU history. This is per Variety, which reports that Paul Rudd and Peyton Reed's third adventure centered on the Pym and Lang families is on track to make roughly $30 million this weekend, dropping 72% from its $106 million opening week. That'll likely still be enough to win the weekend. Sorry, Bear, you tried, but it's still a massive plummet for a film universe that usually magnifies significantly more staying power than this. Quantumania comes to this at the point of already getting some pretty rough treatments at the hands of critics. Although the audience scores are holding strong, it's only the second MCU movie ever to log a rotten score from critics. Who cares? Probably wasn't. We all know why they rated it negatively. It's because, a bunch of them are mad that Evangeline Lilly didn't like poke mandates. The real question then is what weekend 3 of the movie's lifespan will look like. Whether it will settle into a steady rhythm for the next few weeks or continue to fade down the mysterious alternate universe that shrinking scientists refer to as the Itsy Bitsy Town, as is Reed and Rudd, can at least content themselves with the knowledge that they've already surpassed the MCU's lowest performer, 2008 Incredible Hulk, which brought just a meager $134 million. Well, I mean, I don't think critics have a lot of saying power in the MCU. I just don't. But this is not a great look. But if we look at box office numbers, right? Wakanda Forever, certainly down from the original Wakanda. So Wakanda Forever, $858 million worldwide. Huge number, right? Definitely made a couple $100 million based on the budget, probably by now. But when you look at the original, $1.344 billion. So it made $500 million less than the original. That's a pretty steep drop. That's a very big drop. 40% and 35% or so. If we look at, the question of, is there any kind of future for Marvel? What's going on with Marvel? Well, I mean, the Multiverse of Madness, which in my opinion was, again, a classic mediocre Marvel movie. I did see that in the theater. There was some weird stuff going on, like with the notes I didn't like. Some people liked it. I didn't think it really worked. But I don't know if you could specifically say that Marvel is dead. after another stinker, because you had the Eternals, stunk. No one went and saw it, but who didn't see that coming? Then you had the third Ant-Man and the Wasp, which was never a massive franchise anyway. Looks like it's going to probably lose money. But so did the Eternals. Shang-Chi I think just got over the profit margin, if I remember right. So I think what this is it's representative of a really big drop in the good faith that Marvel had, where we would just go no matter what, and we'd see the movie. I mean, Thor: Love and Thunder Thor, a Chris Hemsworth movie, didn't make the $1 billion mark. It got $761 million, which it's like, okay, that's not nothing. But when you're talking about a movie that like was soundly panned, as another meh movie, with a $600-700 million break even point, do you think that maybe that's indicative of how Marvel's been treating its fandom? I feel like Marvel isn't dead, but we can see now that they've destroyed the good faith that they built in the first 10 or 11 movies. Will Spider-Man suddenly stop putting butts in seats? That's impossible. It's still going to do great. But outside of that, the future is pretty bleak. You want more Black Panther sequels that continue to spiral the drain, head in the wrong direction? Not that $800 million is exactly a failure, but it wasn't a far cry from the $1.4 billion the first movie made. Nobody wants to see any more Ant-Man movies. That's pretty clear. Guardians of the Galaxy's played out. Each Guardians of the Galaxy, in my opinion, has gotten worse. If you want to know the order of, the best order for Guardians of the Galaxy's movies, it's literally just go down the line when they were released. First one was great. They've been downhill since. Still like them. I didn't watch the Christmas special. I don't know if that was any good. Maybe you guys let me know in the comment section down below. But this is the effect of burning the good faith with, putting out crap movies or mediocre movies and not really having a backup plan for losing Robert Downey Jr. and, many other stars. Chris Evans will be back for more Captain America. I would suspect the Captain America movie is still going to make $800 million. That's still a lot of money, especially if Marvel can figure out a way to, rein in the cost a little bit. But this particular movie, the original Ant-Man in the box office, it wasn't exactly, a box office masterpiece either. If you look at now, box office mojo isn't always perfect. It can be directional, but like if you look at what Ant-Man, the original one, $622 million. So, is it gonna? I don't think it's even gonna surpass that. Ant-Man and the Wasp was $622. The original Ant-Man was $519 million. So the Ant-Man series really isn't that much of a banger anyway. Everyone likes Paul Rudd. Yeah, we get it. But it was $519, then $622, and this one's really going to stink. Like, this box office is going to be pretty bad. This article in Variety says, should Marvel be concerned? A second weekend drops go, anything in the 70% realm is pretty significant. But movies that open with over 100 million are generally front-loaded. In some cases, the bigger they are, the harder they fall comes into play. In other words, its second weekend turn of 32 million is not exactly encouraging this early in the theatrical run, but let's see where ticket sales end up by the time Quantumania leaves the big screen. And we could look at that with, what's the Blue People one? Totally, I nothing those movies. They're not for me. But sure enough, that movie, people just kept going and seeing it. Why can't I think of it? Avatar. People just kept going to see it, and it hit 2 billion. Now, this guy says, I don't think it's a big deal. Jeff Bach, an analyst in exhibitor relationships, it had the biggest opening of the series so far, which makes up for any drops. Plus, there's precedent. It's not unusual for major tentpoles to earn the bulk of the returns in the first weekend of release. Marvel movies have become increasingly front-loaded because audiences want to see them quickly to avoid spoilers. And the $200 million budgeted Quantumania, which is the 31st installment, kicks off the MCU's Phase 5 slate, is no exception. Additionally, theater owners who set prices for tickets have started to charge more for blockbuster movies during opening weekend. That's scammy. That's why you shouldn't feel bad about when you buy your ticket, just choose child. I'm not telling anyone to do that. But as an adult, are you taking up additional seat? Are you taking up more room than a child? Then why are you paying 15 and a child pays 9? Just saying. Doesn't make sense. In fact, an adult is going to put more money in to concessions more likely. So, I think you have a $200 million budget, which means it has to hit $400 or $500 million to break even, which it will do, but, it's not that awesome. You can look at others feel it's a more heated box office competition and harsh holiday comparisons. That's concern for the latest Ant-Man expands a potentially worrying trend for Marvel. Though Quantumania endured the steepest fall, it's not the only MCU movie to witness a substantial drop in the second week. Lockdown-era entries like Black Widow, Thor: Love and Thunder, Spider-Man: No Way Home, Doctor Strange: Multiverse all suffered similar declines. Yet those movies, with the exception of Black Widow, which was released day and date on Disney+, earned at least $760 million and as much as $955 million. That's Doctor Strange's total. There's an argument that Marvel hasn't been appealing beyond its target audience, but that target audience sure is dependable. No other franchise, dozens of films in, has managed to come close to that kind of consistency. For me, Marvel movies have become I'll watch it on Disney Plus or I'll stream it. I don't think there's a single Marvel movie that I'm excited for anymore, other than Captain Marvel for content reasons. But we'll see now, the Marvels, how that actually does, if people actually go and see it or not, because that will be the true test if Phase 5 is the beginning of the end for Marvel. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please make sure you leave a like on it, and we'll talk to you again real soon.